Hello and welcome to this week's Give It to God live call hosted by Alison Larkin. I'm Sarah Hawksworth, Ali's colleague, here to walk you all through a bit of housekeeping on how the call will run and what you can expect. Apologies for my appearance. I'm traveling and it is 35 degrees, hence the redness. Ali's going to open the call in a few moments. She'll speak on today's theme for 50 to 60 minutes, and we will then open the call for 30 minutes of Q&A. There's two ways you can interact during the Q&A. You can come on the call and speak to Ali directly to ask your question and receive some one-to-one coaching. You two can vibe together, which is Ali's preferred method, or you can just submit your question in text form in the Q&A box and Ali will then answer it. This call is being recorded and will be posted on Ali's YouTube channel in a few days, but as standard, we remove all names and voices from Q&A questions. We ask that all communication is posted into the Q&A rather than the chat to make sure that we don't miss any of your questions, and you can post them at any time during the call. You don't have to wait until the Q&A section is open. As I said, the recording will be posted on Ali's YouTube channel, which is at Alison Larkin on YouTube, but we still recommend you having a pen and paper handy so you can take notes during the call as well. If you'd like to join us on next week's call and you're watching this recording, then you'll find the link to join below. I'll now hand over to Ali for today's call.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm laughing at the little part about your traveling and this is why your face is red. I thought you meant because of the wires in the background because she's out in the atrium just now. So wait a minute, change role to attendee. I can't be Steve Jobs and do this at the same time. So I'm going to change Sarah back. Okay, so also traveling, funnily enough. And I just want to make sure, so if anybody could write in the Q&A, if you can hear the fan, because I'm in a big, beautiful apartment on the island of Gozo, and it is, as Sarah said, extremely warm, and I've got a fan on the ceiling, and I don't know if it's really loud, and if it is, and it's prohibiting my voice in any way, or making it harder for you to hear. Okay, so we've got can't hear the fan, which is awesome. Okay, so welcome to Give It to God. I'm just going to preempt this whole call with the same thing that Sarah just said. Both Sarah and I have been travelling this week, and I've been travelling now for about 2 or 3 weeks in tow with my 10-year-old, who is awesome and very chatty, loves to chat, loves to be entertained and entertain. So it's been a very full-on 3 weeks that we've been together, just the two of us. And then last week we were traveling in North America, and this week we're back in Europe where it is very, very warm. And we've just arrived and we're all a bit jet lagged from our travels last week. So I'm going to do my best to deliver the messages that I've received this week through my body. And would love if anybody's got any questions at the end to just put them in the Q&A at any point during the first 60 minutes while I'm chatting, and then I'll get round to them after 60 minutes. So each week we start the session with the same process, which is we go into silence together for 5 to 10 minutes just to get ourselves back into our bodies, out of our heads, into our bodies, because in 2026 we spend a lot of time in our heads, having conversations up there, thinking about the things that we've got to do next, ticking off our mental to-do lists. And God communicates with us through the body, not through the mind, not through the thoughts that we create from the subconscious, which comes from lots of programming that we've done, that we've subconsciously programmed into our systems since childhood, that create thoughts, that create things for us to do, that actually take us away from our bodies and away from that direct link to God. So we start every Wednesday on this call with 5 to 10 minutes of silence, and then a short prayer, which is just basically me having a short conversation with God, with the highest energy we all carry within us. And then I will speak on this week's theme, which I will tell you about after our silence, and then I will open the Q&A section at the end. So if everybody's sitting comfortably, if you could have both feet on the ground, that would be beneficial for you to be grounded. Also, or you could sit in the lotus position, you could be lying down in bed, close your eyes. I will say that if you're in your car and you're driving and you're listening to this call while you're driving or listening to it on catch up, don't close your eyes. If you're listening to it on catch up, we're going to go into 5 to 10 minutes of silence together live. I would encourage you to also just to sit 5 to 10 minutes of silence on catch up and just bring yourself back into your body. This week I'm going to try it a little bit different. I'm going to speak to you while you're in the silence for the first couple of minutes just to try and give people guidance on how to get into their body from their mind. So if everybody could just close their eyes now, and I will close my eyes in a couple of minutes. But first of all, I'm going to just guide everyone into the silence by themselves. I'm going to say here that I am actually finding the fan quite distracting because it's really noisy where I am. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I'm going to see how I feel after I come out of the silence. I might have to get up and turn it off. But if that happens, I might end up melting like Olaf on Frozen because it is extremely warm in here. So let's just, everyone close their eyes. Get yourself into a comfortable position. Close your eyes and just become the watcher of your thoughts. Watch all the thoughts that come in while you're sitting in silence, while you're sitting still. In 2026, we don't have a lot of time for stillness and silence. We're always on the go. We're always ticking the mental to-do list, ticking the boxes of the things that we need to do and the things we need to do after that and after that and after that and after that. The paradox of moving forward is that we need to sit still in order to be able to move forward, because we need to sit still in order to hear the commands of the body. And the body is the highest energy, that which we call God. The commands that come through the body that enable us to take the action needed, that we will be guided on to move forward towards the life of our dreams, which is constantly becoming and constantly becoming and constantly becoming, which I'll be talking about more on the call. So we just sit in silence together in stillness, and you can watch the thoughts that come into your mind. You can see where your mind goes when it wanders. This gives you an indication of where your emotional vibrations, the frequency that you're vibrating at, will determine the theme of your thoughts. Your thoughts are filled with fear, then we know that something's going on inside your system. If they're filled with excitement, anticipation, and faith and joy, then we know that there's something else going on inside your system that feels a lot better. So just watch what thoughts come in and just be the watcher of them. just going to invite everyone to come back into the room, into the 3D reality that we all live in, into the physical world, out from the interior back into this physical reality that we're currently in. And just become aware of what was going through your mind, what thoughts were manifesting while you were sitting there in silence. And if you have your journal with you, then I would advise you to just jot down what comes up when you're sitting in the silence. And then later on you can journal on it and journal on and ask your body where those thoughts are coming from, what frequency they're coming from, what programming they're coming from, which we're going to touch on a bit more throughout the call, throughout today's session, is the programming that we're all carrying within our systems. For now, I'm going to ask God, the highest energy we all carry within ourselves, to just guide us through this call, to be with us while we're here together in this session, to speak loudly to everyone who's sitting here today, including me, to flow through us with ideas, thoughts, theories, feelings, and to be with us enough that we can be open and trustful of that energy that we carry within us. This is my wish for everybody on the call, and it's my wish for everybody as they go throughout their daily lives. We have an energy within us that created this planet, created every single creature on this planet, and we carry a spark of that within us. So if we carry that energy that could create everything that we see around about us, and that's everything from the dark through to the light, from the things that we enjoy through to the things that terrify us and we despise. If we carry the energy within us, and we do, that was able to create every single thing that we can see in this physical reality, then just think what power we have to create the life that we want to create the dreams and the desires that we want to create. We have that energy within us, and when everybody comes together and sits in session and us all has one common goal, which is to align with that energy and to create the life of our individual dreams in order to serve the collective dreams, then that's a very powerful place to be. So really thankful for everybody that's come here today, for everybody that's bringing their energy along, regardless if you feel that you're sitting in what we would term as good energy or not so great energy, not so beneficial, as I tell my clients. Your energy is needed, it matters, you matter, you're needed. And no matter how you feel, it's all for the evolution of the collective. Every week, God gives me lessons to learn. And I come on this call and I quite often talk about the lessons that I've learned that week. And while we were sitting in silence there, I was thinking I can only ever hope to be better than who I was last week. Don't just mean on this call, I mean in my everyday life. Better than who I was last week, and constantly looking forward to the person that I want to become. And I'm always becoming, always becoming, always becoming. And so are you. And I remembered this quote while we were sitting in silence, and it was by the UK podcast host Chris Williamson, but it's not his quote. He spoke about it on his podcast recently, and I'm going to massively bastardize the quote. So if you resonate with what I'm about to say, then please do go and Google it, and you'll hear that he quoted it correctly and much more eloquently than I'm about to. But it was something along the lines of, I could always hear my higher self clearing his throat in the next room. And when I heard this quote, and it was written by a man, I'm not sure who it was, I've got no idea. It just the quote just came into my body when we were sitting together in silence. And when I heard him saying it for the first time, I was like, oh, I really, really love that. I really love that quote. That there's a higher version of ourselves. Each of us has got a higher version, a highest version that we're always trying to become. And that version is always guiding us down the path to our highest and greatest lives. A glorious path is what me and my clients call it. And you can hear that highest version of you. The more that you sit in silence with yourself, the more journaling you do, the more meditating you do, the more being in nature that you do, the more that you're able to hear that higher version of yourself clearing their throat in the next room while you're in this room living in this reality, and quite often doing things that are not the most beneficial for us because we deviate from our glorious path. Now, the nuance says that even the deviation from the glorious path is still the glorious path, because we have to deviate to learn the lessons. So every single week I get all these lessons from God as I'm going about my week. And some weeks I cope with them better than others, and that's also based on my feminine cycle. And then I meditate on the things that I've learned, and then I bring them to this call. So the theme of this week's call, and I touched on it last week, and what keeps happening is I'll hear a theme and I get really excited about it, and I'm like, right, this is the thing I'm going to talk about. And then either the day before or the day of this session, I hear another theme, and I'm like, right. And it's usually like quite absolute, and I'm like, right, wait a minute, but I've already got my theme like set up, and I'm like, I'm not sure yet. I'm going to meditate on it further. If I'm supposed to do the theme that I hear the day before or that day, or if I'm supposed to just always kind of be a week behind on catch up. So I'm going to go with the theme that I set last week, which is anything you wish for with a truthful heart will instantly be made manifest, which is a quote, a command, a guidance that I heard through my body 4 or 5 years ago, like that. I heard it exactly like that. Anything you wish for with a truthful heart will instantly be made manifest. And what that did was it set me down this path of understanding the things that I desire, the things that I wish for. Are they coming from a truthful heart? Are they coming from a heart that is enshrined and bathed in unconditional love, not just for myself, but for everybody on the planet? Could everybody be made better by the things that I wish for? Because we are here in service to ourselves and in service to the people around about us. We are a collective, we are a whole collective of the human species. I'm just going to drink some of my tea before it gets too cold, although it might be nice if it's too cold because it is really, really warm. Once again, I will say on the island of Gozo, just now it is really warm. It's about 35 degrees, and we've been going down to the beach in the evening because that's the only time where it's cool enough to go in the sea. So anything that you wish for with a truthful heart will instantly be made manifest. I've been meditating on this since I spoke about it on last week's call, and the word of that sentence that jumps out to me most is, or the words from that sentence that jump out to me most are truthful, a truthful heart, and the word instantly. So we live in this age where things are instant. We order things online and they can sometimes come that day or they can come the next day. It's instant. We get instant gratification. We get it, I always say this, we get it through these little boxes in our hand. We can have instant gratification. We can have instant dopamine hits. We can have instant numbing of whatever we're feeling within our bodies. Because of this, we now have an expectation of things, the things that we desire coming in a certain time frame. We live in a reality where time is something that dictates and also is the foundation of everything that we do. We want things to happen quicker. We want things to be instant. And that is not God's way. That is not the natural way of the world. So if you think about a tree, you plant the seed, the tree does not grow instantly. You plant a flower, the flower does not grow instantly. You find out you're pregnant with a baby, the baby doesn't come instantly. It takes 9 months to grow. Trees take a long, long time to grow. Flowers take a certain amount of time to grow. Everything that's worth waiting for takes time. So here we have this paradox of, anything worth waiting for takes time and patience. And also, we live in this world where we get things instantly, and we want instant gratification, and we want our desires to come instantly. And the God that we have inside of us is a benevolent, can be a benevolent parent that is not going to give us the things that we want instantly. So a good example of this is this morning, my little 10-year-old came up with this. Well, last night she came up with this game that we were going to play where we've got I'm going to mention for like the 10th time within half an hour of the call starting that it's quite hot in Glasgow. And we've got these little ice blocks in the freezer. And we were sitting at the dinner table last night and she decided she's going to put one of the ice blocks down her pajama top. And so she put it down and she was like sitting there and she was going like this, like getting like all nervous, all this anticipation, and then she dropped it down. And then she came up with this idea that if I could put it down the back of my pajama top and do it without squealing, I get a prize. And whoever does it, we're all at the dinner table, whoever does it gets a prize. And we were laughing, we're like, right, okay. But by this point, the ice block had started to melt quite quickly. So off her own back, she came up with this idea that she's going to put it back in the freezer to make it even colder, so that it would be more of a challenge for herself. Um, so she woke up this morning and we were in the living room together, and then she remembered the challenge and she was like, straight away, she was like, right, I'll go and get the ice block, and we were laughing, and she went and got it, and the challenge was she has to put it down the back of her pajama top and the front of her pajama top. She'd added in an extra thing to do, and without squealing, she would win a prize. If she did squeal, then everyone else would win a prize and she would not. And so she stood there and she was like just her whole little face was like this. And I put the ice block, because it's our summer vacation, summer of fun. I put the ice block down her pajama top and she did not make a noise. She was like, and then I put it down the back of her pajama top, which was a bit harder for her. And she was like, again, didn't make a noise. So then she's like, oh, I get a prize. And she said, any prize I want. And I said, yeah, within reason. And she was like, any amount. And I was like, no, not any amount, not any prize. Like Mama will set the parameters for it. And she said, how much can it be? And I said, €20. She was not best pleased about it at all. And she was like, no, €30, no, €40. And I said, 25 is my last offer. That's where I'm going to. You can pick a price for €25 for putting a block of ice down your pajama top. And so she's sitting at the dinner table, like trying to negotiate with me. What about, can I get 35 or 40? So I was encouraging her to do chores to get up to the 40 for whatever it is that she's got in mind for her prize. And it's this perfect example of these things that happen in our everyday lives. Maybe your kids are not doing things like this to earn prizes, but and how they also are what happens like in the collective, that we want we want things to be the way that we want them to be. And if we don't get them the way we want it, then all hell breaks loose. We throw our toys out the pram, we lose our minds. And this understanding that we have to have faith and the way always being the best for us, it always being the thing that we want, and the way that we're able to get the thing that we want always being the correct way. And that's faith and the idea that God is always guiding us down the path to our greatest desires, and that we're always on that path no matter what it looks like. And if that looks like something that we don't prefer, that we don't love, that is in contrast to how we want it to be, then that's something that we have to go internally and look internally to find out why this is causing us this frustration, this anger, this probably stagnant fear of, right, I want things this way, I want this thing, and I want it to come in exactly that way. That's not how the natural order of the universe is. That's not how it works. And we can just sit here today together and hopefully from a peaceful, calm, safe place and just decide that we know that that's not the way that life works, and that we are going to be working towards accepting that at all times, because it's never generally just, okay, I accept that's the way that life works, and then something gets thrown at you and then you're like, well, wait a minute, like I don't like this thing, and nothing, and I've spoken about this so much in the past few weeks, that nothing was ever truer for me than last year when I had a miscarriage, where I've been on this path for so long and teaching this way for so long. And then it was almost like this thing happened to me and I was absolutely mortified by it. I was like, no, wait a minute, like, not me. Like I was somehow exempt from it because I teach other people that which, when I look at it now, I'm just like, oh, okay, Ali. That you're always getting what you want, but you might just not like the way that it transpires, the way that it comes to you. And then my desire was to have a baby and I had a miscarriage. And I was like, right, well, wait a minute, like how does this work? How does this work? And I spoke last week about how I had to, I believe now that it was because it sent me back on this path of faith. Like your faith is never tested so much as when you are in a situation that is the complete opposite of the thing that you want, the thing that you desire, the thing that you've prayed for, the thing that you've asked God for. Your faith is tested in those moments. It's not tested in the moments where you're getting everything that you desire and you're just like, okay, right, everything's perfect. It's tested in the moments when you're getting what appears to be the exact opposite of it. So everything that you ask for with a truthful heart will instantly be made manifest. If it's not instantly made manifest, then we have to look at the actions that we have to take in order for us to be able to receive everything that we wish for with our truthful hearts. And also some things take a period of time. Okay, I could wish for a baby with a truthful heart. The chances that someone's going to walk through the door and hand me a baby are very slim. Also wishing for me to carry the baby, then they can't just get pregnant and then the baby comes straight away. That's not how it works. It's like, okay, that baby's going to take 9 months to develop in there. So it's not instant, right? But God gives us enough instant desires that we can build the trust that the other things are coming, and anything that we have to wait to receive, that waiting period, that gestation period, is in order for something within us to grow. So do you see how even like the very, very basic of humanity, of the species, is the 9 month gestation period for babies to develop and be born from conception through to birth, is the same, can be the same for everything that we desire. We then have a conception of the desire, we have a gestation period of the desire, and then we have the birth of the desire. And it's what happens within the moment of from the moment of conception to the moment of birth. What is the moment of conception? The moment of conception is when you decide that you conceive an idea of a desire that you wish for. So often, and I've often said this, that desires can also come from the contrast of not having the thing. So the author Esther Hicks, who channels Abraham Hicks, she'll say that we launch rockets of desire, but we can launch them from things that we don't want, the contrast of the things that we don't want, which is, like maybe you desire for it to be a sunny day and you wake up and it's raining and you're like, oh, I don't want it to be raining, and there's a lot of emotion around the fact that it's raining and you're frustrated because you've got somewhere that you've got to be and the rain's going to hinder it. So you've got this frustration and this perhaps even anger, and it's like, this is going to slow me down. And I'm using a very, very basic level to try and get you to understand this, that then what you're launching in your subconscious is also this desire, this very strong emotion around this desire for the weather to be clearer so that you can do the things that you've got to do. That's true of the weather and everything else that you want to manifest in your life. You can launch the rockets of desire from a place of contrast, which is you're not having the things that you desire, or you can launch it from a place of just stillness and space of the understanding that God has placed into your heart that you desire this thing. So I was doing a lot of in-person coaching last week, and one of my clients sat in front of me, and I asked him I said to him, ask me any questions that you want to ask me, first of all. And he said, what do you see for me? That was his question. And I was like, what a great question it was to be asked. And I just said, everything that's in your heart, all of your desires that have been placed in your heart, I see you achieving all of those and receiving all of those, because God would not put them in your heart if God, your highest version of yourself, did not also believe that you could achieve and receive the things that you can see. So everything that we envision, we can have. I've said this before, and I said it to my client sitting at the table last week, that, I've said this to people, and then they're like, well, what if, you're 5'4" and you have a desire to be a pro basketball player? Uh, Most people at 5'4" are not, don't have a desire to be a pro basketball player, and the ones that do will have a skill set that is unique to them, that might enable them maybe not to become a pro basketball player, but to play basketball and enjoy what they do. And or maybe the desire has been placed in their heart so that they can sit with it and see what can evolve from that desire. The what ifs when things like this are said are, they're generally the extreme, right? It's like, okay, well, my desire is to live on Mars, but Mars is inhabitable. I don't. If it was possible to live on Mars, I'd probably be one of the first people to volunteer for it, because I quite like aliens and space. But it's not, I don't wake up every morning with that desire in my heart. God generally puts a desire in your heart that it's not generally, God puts a desire in your heart that you are capable of achieving. That's why it's in your heart. What happens is we don't believe, we've got a subconscious programming, that we don't believe that we can have the things that we want. And that subconscious programming has come from this lifetime that we live in now, lifetimes that we lived in before, and also, the generational trauma, the generational beliefs and coding and programming of the people that came before us in our family. We do have the power to create something more. We have the power to create a different belief system, a different coding, a different programming within our systems. And the best way that we can ever do that, and the most amazing way that God will ever show us how to do that, is by showing us the programming, the coding that's already there. And how does God show us the programming, the coding that's already there? Generally through what people would deem as suffering, not liking the thing that you have. So if your desire is to have wealth, wealth in the form of financial wealth, what is it that you're actually desiring, first of all? More often than not, anybody that sat across from me that desires wealth is desiring security that comes in the form of the masculine, in the form of money. Masculine energy comes in the form of money, man, and God. It's all protecting, all providing. It keeps us safe. It keeps us. It's logical. It's structured. It's systemized, and the feminine within us, which we all carry within us, looks for the masculine to keep us safe and keep us protected and keep us provided for. Those three physical manifestations of it, and I appreciate God is not a physical manifestation, but it's a manifestation in this physical reality, are money, man, and God. You look for security, protection, and provision from those three. Men, the masculine, because men are the bigger of the species, and I know a lot of people have a lot of problems with that, but it's also science, and men are the biggest of the species. If we're in a war or even a brawl on the street, then I would want a man to be fighting for me, and not me fighting myself, because they're bigger and they're stronger. God is the original source of all protection and all provision, and the other source and that we have in our physical reality is money, wealth. Money, it keeps a roof over our head, it puts food on the table, it provides a safety for us. Okay, now I grew up in a environment and a culture where money was something that people over there had, not us over here. My mother would often quote the quote, money is the root of all evil, which is a misquote. And also it was, money was seen as something that was hard to attain and hard to keep, and it was for them, it wasn't for us. That was a programming and a coding and a belief system that was conditioned into me in childhood that took a long, long time to reverse. to reprogram and recode a long time to understand that money is a flow of energy, in the same way that love is a flow of energy, and the same way that God is a flow of energy, and the same way that fear is a flow of energy. And it's a flow of energy that contains information, and the information is in direct correlation to how we perceive it, will be how we receive it. So we can have an awareness and we can recode our systems to receive abundance in the form of financial wealth. When people desire financial wealth, it is generally to the base desire is a feeling of safety within themselves that comes from never, let's say, never having to worry about money. Okay. If you grow up in an environment where money is something that you worry about, then that's a coding and a programming in your system. Or money is something that has to be held on to tightly, because if you don't, then it'll run out and then you'll be in trouble. Anything that flows can flow through if it's being held onto tightly, right? So if you hold on to something tight like this, then nothing can flow through it. But we have to hold things in our hands so that it can flow through. It has to have an open hand. But the thing that I often talk to my clients about with financial wealth, because it's a good example of flow of energy, is you also don't want to be leaking energy. Like, you don't want to just be throwing money out the window at things that you don't need, and things that just cluttering your house and your life with things that you don't need and that are there to that you buy or you attain in order to fill something within yourself that is lacking, that you deem as lacking. It's almost to like fill a hole within yourself, which is, that comes back to that instant gratification of getting a dopamine hit of buying something in a shop, and the dopamine hit goes up and then it comes crashing back down again, and you feel good about this new purchase for a certain level of time. And that could be a little purchase of, I don't know, a hat for summer, to a big purchase of a house or a car or something bigger, and it fills the gap for a certain amount of time, and then it doesn't, and then you realise this isn't the thing that I wanted. In fact, I want something bigger, I want something bigger, I want something bigger. Now the challenge that a lot of my clients have, and the thing that I spend a lot of my time teaching about, is desire from a place of lack will always have you desiring something bigger. Okay? Desire from a place of lack will always have you desiring something bigger. Desire from a place of love will always have you desiring something bigger. Okay? The two things are the same. The only difference is you're going to enjoy this one more. You're going to enjoy the desire from a place of love, because it's the love and the understanding that you can always go bigger, you can always go better, you can always evolve more. Oh my, I don't know what just happened there. The recording stopped and then started back up again. I'm not sure what happened. Maybe I disconnected from the server, and that also interrupted my flow of speech a bit. Right, so I'm going to say it again. So just in case that was like God nudging me to say like this is an important thing, I'm going to take a drink of my cup of tea just to right myself after that happened. Desire from a place of lack will always have you desiring more. Desire from a place of love will always have you desiring more. They're the same. They're exactly the same thing. But you'll enjoy desire from a place of love much more than you'll enjoy desire from a place of lack. So how does that look in everyday life? And how does it tie in with everything that you wish for will instantly be, everything you wish for with a truthful heart will instantly be made manifest. So everything that we wish for are our desires. What does a truthful heart look like? A truthful heart is a heart that's connected to unconditional love. Okay. If we desire something from a place of lack, then we're desiring it from a place of lack of love, which in this physical reality we live in is often manifested as fear. We desire it from a place of not enoughness, of I need this thing to fill something that is within myself that is lacking. You will not enjoy the things that you'll get. You'll get a quick dopamine hit when you get it, and then you'll constantly be looking for the next thing, constantly be looking for more, bigger and better. Over here, if you desire from a place of love, from the understanding that we are abundant creatures, that abundance is our birthright, that we are a fragmentation of the energy that we call God, that we are essentially gods, that we can create anything that our hearts desires and not our hearts desire. And not only can we create it, we should create it, because we are creative creatures, and this is our duty to the world is to evolve through creation. If you're desiring from here, from this place of love and alignment and connection with that energy of God, then it's just always knowing that you can have more, you can have bigger, you can have better, you can evolve, you can evolve, you can evolve. That feels much nicer, much more enjoyable, much more connected to God, ourselves, and the people round about us, than being over here just wanting all the things, in order to make myself feel better. So how do we differentiate between those two the two versions of desire and where they come from? Well, our emotions are an indicator of it. If we desire something and we feel around that desire, we feel excitement and joy and what I call an impulse in your body, where it's like, yes, I want this thing, and I'm going to go and achieve this thing or receive this thing or create this thing, then when we receive it and when we get it, when we create it, the emotions that we feel around it will indicate whether or not we're coming from a place of love and faith and trust and truthfulness in our heart, or whether we're coming from a place of lack. Your feelings are the emotion, your feelings and emotions are the internal navigation system in this. They're the indicator of where you're coming from when you have this desire. So if you have a desire for a bigger car because your next door neighbor has a bigger car, and a nicer car and a more expensive car, and you're looking at his car, and you desire from this place of envy or lack, or, well, how come he's got this? I'm looking about the neighborhood and I'm the only one that doesn't have this thing, then I'm going to have to go and get it in order to fit in with this neighborhood and this culture that I live in. Then you will always be at the mercy and at the power of whatever your neighbour buys and whatever your neighbour's doing and whatever. And I don't just mean your physical neighbour, I mean the culture around about you. Everybody else is doing this thing, so I'm going to go and do it too. You'll always be at the mercy of that. You'll always be at the power of it. You are giving your power away to someone else. You are giving your connection with God away, because you're connected to this desire through this neighbour, these people in your culture, rather than a desire from your connection with God, your alignment with God, who will put desires in your heart that not everybody will understand. That's another way of another indication that your calling is your calling, your desires are your desires. Not everybody will understand the things that you desire, even if on the surface they look really, really good. They look logical, and they look like the type of thing that you should be desiring. There'll always be someone that thinks, well, no, that's not right, and there'll always be someone that has an opinion on it. And you're tested in your desires also. So for instance, like, if your desire is to live in another country, but all of your family live in this country over here, and your desire is to go and live in this other country, and God has put this calling in your heart to go and go somewhere else and live somewhere else and have a life somewhere else, and your family are bewildered by this, stay here where everybody's together and we're all safe and we're all in the same tribe, but God has put a desire in your heart to go somewhere else, and that's an indication that you're in alignment with something bigger than yourself, because you're being tested, you're being asked to have faith in the face of other people saying, are you sure this is the thing that you want to do? Are you sure this is the right steps? And then your job is to ascertain whether they are coming from a place of fear of, you're doing this thing that we're too afraid to do, or why would you do this? This is stepping outside the confines of the culture that we've created. Or if it's coming from a genuine, concern, you can be in the stillness and be in the silence and be with God, and ascertain where other people's opinions are coming from. This has never been more apparent to me than what it has been in the past year with me leaving the UK. And living in Europe and you know living here without my youngest daughter who remained in the UK with her dad and is with me in the holidays. Plenty of people have got opinions on that. Plenty of people have said things to me about it, that it's you know they couldn't do it, they wouldn't do it, they can't understand why I'm doing it. That I was stuck between a rock and a hard place, and you know, I made a decision, and it was not a decision that I took lightly, and it was not a decision that was in any way easy for me to do. And one of the things that I say often to people, and it does make them feel very uncomfortable, is that God spoke to me, and God told me that this was the right thing to do. This was the right path. This was the right steps, the right next steps. And it's been the hardest year of my whole entire life doing this. It's been since last summer when I made the decision. I had to look at the date there to see if it's been a year, and it has. And it's been the hardest year of my life for sure. And you know, if you've in any way followed any of my work, you will know that I've had quite challenging things going in my life throughout my life. So to say that this has been the most challenging year is, you know, is quite a lot. It's been a big challenge, but I've done this year with God in my heart. I've got a knowledge, a knowing, a feeling, an intuition within me that I didn't have before, that I'm on the right path and I'm doing the right thing, that I just didn't have that connection with this higher source, with this higher knowledge, with this higher guidance. I didn't have that before that I have now. And I believe that I was able to reconnect with that. I'm not going to say I didn't have it before. I'm going to retract that I just said it's always there. I couldn't connect to it, that knowledge, that I said this before, like it's your intuition. Your intuition's an instruction manual. It comes from God. It's almost like a written booklet that's within your DNA that's telling you do these things to be on this path to evolve, not just yourself, but everybody in your community and the collective as a whole. Because what we need for the evolution of the collective as a whole is for everybody to be vibrating at a frequency of unconditional love and truth and curiosity and this knowing that we have inside of ourselves. That's the thing that's going to evolve us as a species. It's not fear, it's not lack of love, it's not the darkness, but we have to have those things. The paradox of that is we have to have the fear, we have to have the darkness, we have to have all of the things that we term as bad happening in order to look at them through the eyes of God, which is looking at them through the eyes of unconditional love, curiosity, and an inner knowing that comes from the curiosity that we are on the right path. So we can only, at times, we can only learn through the mistakes. Not always. Sometimes we can just learn through joy and choosing the glorious path. But there's a greater learning often comes from the mistakes, and that's on a little individual level and on a collective level. So the mistakes or the suffering that I went through last year, which was the loss of my baby, enabled me to have a stronger reconnection with my intuition. That is the silver lining that came from what I went through last year. That is the the knowledge that when I looked at what happened, when I looked at what was happening in my life, and it wasn't just the miscarriage, it was all the things that came afterwards, that I could look at it through the eyes of unconditional love and curiosity. I was called to look at it through the eyes of unconditional love and curiosity, and it came very, very it came in through my body through a command. And I spoke about this last week where I went to a doctor's appointment and I asked the doctor what had happened to the baby and was I at fault and all of these things. And I came home and I lay on the floor. And if you want to hear the full version of this story, then please just refer to last week's video where I lay on the floor and I began to pray. And I didn't realise at the time that what I was doing was praying. I just thought I was just talking to myself while I was lying on the floor with grief. And I was talking to myself, I was talking to the highest version of myself where I was saying, please just keep my heart open. Please keep my heart open. I was asking the God within myself to keep my heart open while I was going through something that I found really, really challenging. And well, what does that mean? Keep my heart open? Well, it means keep my heart vibrating at a frequency of unconditional love, right? Unconditional love for the situation that I was going through, unconditional love for everybody that was involved in the situation, unconditional love for myself, and unconditional love for God. That was the biggest challenge that I had, was the unconditional love for God, because it was God that I wanted to be angry at, because I was like, no, well, why is this? Why is now something else happening to me? Why have I got to go through this other thing? And subsequently, what happened was I had some clients come forward to say that they'd also had a miscarriage and that they were able to process decades old stagnant emotions from the guidance that I could give them to do that while I was going through the grieving process of miscarrying myself. And when I it was I can't honestly remember. I can't sit here and honestly remember if it was accurately, because it was at a very, very fraught time in my life. If this happened before or after that, I'd prayed to God to enable me to keep my heart open throughout the process of grief. That I also heard very clearly, this is the manifestation in progress. I heard it really, really clearly in my body and as a message. And you will, as you go on this journey, you might start, you might come on these calls, especially in the first couple of weeks, and you'll be like, I don't understand what you mean when you hear the voice of God within you. I don't understand what you mean when you hear a message through your body. I don't know if it's thoughts that I'm creating within myself, or if it's a message within me that's coming from a higher source. And I was asked this on a Q&A a couple of weeks ago. How do you know? How do you know if it's God and not your ego? And the nuance is that God is also your ego. Um, because the ego is the petri dish in which all alchemy takes place, all transformation takes place. We can only get to God through the ego. So you don't have to worry if it's God or if it's the ego that's speaking to you. All you have to do is take the information that's presented to you through your body or even through your mind, and take action on it if you're called. And whatever transpires from the action will be what's supposed to transpire anyway. There are no mistakes. There's nothing, there's no mistake ever being made. Everything that you do, everything that we do on an individual basis, everything we do on a collective basis, is all for the evolution of the species. It's all for the evolution of us as a collective. So what looks like mistakes is still for the evolution of the species, if we look at it through the eyes of God, which is the eyes of unconditional love and curiosity. So I can feel myself getting to that stage where I start to speed up my talking and I get all excited about everything, which always comes 1 hour after I start the call, I've noticed. So it's like this little procedure that I go through, this process where I start the call and I'm a bit tripping over my words, and then I get into this space where I feel all the energy of everybody in the room and I just start talking really, really fast. So this is my indicator when I'm talking fast to slow myself down, first of all, because I'm getting overexcited with all the energy in the room, and also to ask if there's any questions about anything that I've said so far. Please pop them in the Q&A so that I can read them and ask them before my answer them before my wrap up of the call, which will be coming within the next 30 minutes. Now I have to try and get back to where I was, which is always a challenge for Ali. And I have got no clue, so if someone could tell me where I was, I'll get back to it. Can I blame that on the jet lag? What I was saying before, the evolution of our species, and there are no mistakes, and there's never been a mistake being made. And how, oh yeah, okay, got there myself, guys, got there myself. Go me. Hearing this voice of God within me, the voice of my highest self within me, while I was in the midst of processing the grief of a miscarriage and arranging the burial of our baby boy. I kept hearing, and I heard it once. I heard it very, very, very firmly in the beginning, and it was, this is the manifestation in progress. And when I say that I heard it through my body, when you hear a command through your body like that, and one of my clients heard a command through her body last week, it comes very firmly, it comes as a command, and alongside it comes, if you allow it to, comes in knowing and a safety within you that that's it, that's the steps, that's the thing that you need to do, or that's the thing that you need to know. That's information that's needed at this point. So I had a client say to me last week that she reacted in anger to something that was happening within her life, within her relationship, within her everyday life, and that she was in a huge state of despair about it. And within the state of despair, she started praying. She started saying, "Please, God, like help me understand, help me understand." Like to use your voice, which is a hugely powerful thing that we all have, is our voice, our physical voice. The vibration of our voice is hugely powerful. And when asking for manifestation, this is why affirmations are such a powerful process when they are adhered to correctly, which we will talk about in further calls. But to use your voice physically to actually ask out loud or to pray out loud to God. This is the thing that religions have got right. Okay, like I am not religious, I'm not organized or affiliated with any organized religion, but I'm obviously extremely spiritual and extremely connected to and desire to be in alignment with the energy we call God. But the one thing that all religions have got correct in my opinion is that they ask us to pray out loud using the vibration of our voice in prayer, because it's such a powerful force, it's such a strong force that we carry within us. So this client of mine, when she was in this state of absolute despair, she turned to the highest energy within herself and she prayed out loud to say, "Please, God, please just show me the way out of this. Like, help me understand what's happening. Help me and she heard a command through her body very, very strongly that was, choose excitement, not anger. And it's just very simple. It's just a simple command, right? When we're in the throes of any sort of emotional reaction, we forget for a moment that we can choose our emotional reaction, that we can choose our emotional, where our emotions are focused, that we are so powerful that we can choose that. That's the power that we have and the choice that we have. We can choose how to react to a situation, any situation that arises. We have a choice on how we react to it. Now, when you're in a heightened state and your central nervous system has been heightened over decades and through many, many different ways, not just through suffering in physical reality, but back through the vibrations of the food that we eat and the digital diet that we have and the where we live and how we were brought up and the culture we live in and the fear that our mothers carried in their system when they carried us in their womb. When that all amalgamates to affect your central nervous system that's in a heightened state most of the time, and something happens to trigger that central nervous system and you react to that, like you have a reaction, your fight or flight kicks in, and it's a natural physical phenomenon where everything kicks in and you either shut down or you stand up to fight. And that's the human body's been designed that way, biology's designed that way to keep us alive. It's an amazing phenomenon that we have that was very much needed, but it has been distorted over time, where if someone has a conversation with you, your fight or flight kicks in, you want to stand up or fight or shut down and run away. When it's just a conversation, it's not a lion at the cave, it's not, your life is not in danger. Your ego believes that your life is in danger, but you are not. If we are constantly vibrating at this level of fear and that we're looking at the world through a lens of lack of God, which is fear and not feeling safe, then something can come along that can trigger our central nervous system, trigger us into fight or flight, and we will react in whatever way that manifests, whether it be fear, anger, which is fight, flight, shut down and run away, which is another aspect of fear. We react in that way, and our body just forgets that we also have a choice for this. So what happened in this instant with my client is that she remembered, her body remembered, because it's so powerful and so intelligent, that we have a connection with this higher source of energy, and she was able to say, "Please, God, help me understand." And the highest source of energy, the highest source of wisdom and intelligence that we have inside of us, spoke to her through her body in a very, very simple commandment: choose excitement, not anger. I mean, it's absolutely wonderful, isn't it? It's just such a like just so profound and so simple. A commandment is just choose excitement. I mean, if you think about excitement in your body, like how does your body feel when it's excited? Your heart's racing, your palms are sweating, you've got your solar plexus is going like this, your tummy might like do somersaults. And then you think about anger, your heart's racing, your palms are sweating, your solar plexus is going like this. They feel the same. The two emotions feel the same in the body. So it's just whatever, wherever you want to focus that energy. Do we focus it on excitement or do we focus it on anger? And the intelligence of her body spoke through her and said, this is the commandment, this is the thing that's going to help. She said, please God, show me what I need to do, show me the next steps, show me what's happening here. And God, her own highest intelligence within her, spoke to her. When I said to her afterwards, how did you know that it was God? She was like, it was a feeling within my body, it's a knowing within my body. Recently I spoke to a male client about this, when he hears things within his body like these commandments, like, what does it feel like? He said joy, impulse, like excitement, like I want to go towards it. Right, okay, that's God guiding you down this path. Everybody sitting here today can remember a time, hopefully, and if you cannot, then please write to me in the Q&A, and I will help you sift through your memories till you find a time, because God has spoken to every single person on this planet. He's spoken to every single person on this call. There's not a person sitting on this call, there's not a person on this planet that does not have a fragment of that energy within themselves, that does not have that connection with God, that does not have that ability to connect with God. You don't have to do it through a priest or a rabbi or any other religious person within your religion. You have a direct link to God. You have a direct line, a direct communication to that highest energy within yourself. And that energy, that wisdom, that intelligence speaks to you all the time. You just don't always connect that that's what's happening. But there are times in your life when your intuition, you might call it, or your instincts, or a knowing, or something inside of you has spoken to you, and you've known this is the path I need to take, this is the thing I need to do. More often than not, that thing terrifies you. More often than not, it looks like the opposite of what you're supposed to do. But that's the instructions from God, the instruction manuals that's encoded within your intuition and your DNA, that God's guiding you on this path. That I just remembered something that I had a quote that I was going to do at the top of the session that I forgot that was going to be tied in with this. I'm going to do it at the end of the session, and we might start next week's session with it. That every single person on this call, and if you're sitting here and you don't know a time when God has spoken to you, then please raise your hand and I will help you sift through your memories until you find a place where God has spoken to you, because God speaks to all of us. We all have that highest wisdom within us. We all have a higher self, a highest self, an intelligent wisdom that comes through the body. So my client, she heard these words, choose excitement, not anger. And she said, this is my new mantra. This is what I'm going to do. I could have sat on a call with her or sat in a one-to-one session with her and said to her, I think you should choose excitement, not anger. And she would have taken on board what I've said, and she would have heard my words, and she would have perhaps more than likely followed my words to the best of her ability. But it's much, much, much more powerful when God spoke to her directly through her own body. That was much more powerful for her. And now she knows that's her mantra. She feels it inside of herself. It's a feeling, it's a knowing, it's an unconditional love for that highest version of herself that now she's got a connection with. She knows that, oh, right, okay, wait a minute, I've got a voice within me that's constantly guiding me. How do I access that voice? And I've told you the time and time again, the process for this is through the physical body, through the mental body, and through the spiritual body, which is looking at your physical diet, looking at all the things that you do physically, looking at your outside environment, looking at the food that you put in your body, looking at the vibration in which you view food that you put in your body. Are you enjoying the food? Are you afraid of the food? Where are you vibrating at when you're eating what you're eating? Are you with the food? Are you present with it? Your physical environment of where you live, are you spending enough time in nature? Are you able to spend enough time in nature? These are the physicalities. Then we've got the mental process of connection with God, which is becoming aware of our thoughts, journaling on our thoughts, meditating and allowing the thoughts to come and go. so that we can then reach this spiritual connection, which is spirit, which is God, which is the source of energy, which is the highest version of yourself, whatever you want to call this, the universe, the way. This is the spirit that is in all of us, that connects us all and also guides us all down this path. She was able to hear those words through her body, that it's always been there. That instruction manual is always there. Her intuition is always there. All she did was she tapped into the frequency of it. And the way that she tapped into the frequency of it was actually through the medium of suffering, because what had happened was she'd had a conversation with someone that triggered her. It triggered her into a heightened state of fight or flight. She allowed the emotion to be felt through her body, and in that moment she reached for the higher power that was within herself, which is God, and she prayed out loud, and she said, please God help me, please God help me, and God spoke to her through her body. So there is a process and there is a path that you can follow for this, and God will speak to you at all times, and there are no mistakes. And if God had said choose anger over excitement, let's say, and because God required her to be angry in that moment, and release the stagnant energy of anger that she carried within herself, then there are no mistakes. Say she went and just started like smashing, she was in her garden, just smashed up the garden shed or something, then there's a lesson to be learned from that. I mean, I don't think she's going to do that. That's just my wild imagination going into overdrive. But say she went and used the anger, used all this, divine aggression that she had within herself, because it's been stagnant in her system for so long. And say that message was choose anger over excitement, that's what she heard, and she smashed this shed up. She was supposed to do something with her physical body in order to move all that anger around her body. Perhaps the shed was not supposed to be there anymore. Her wonderful husband was supposed to build a new one, or she was just supposed to learn from the lesson from that is you don't go about smashing shit up just because you're angry. There's no mistakes. Do you see what I mean by that? Like, no matter what the message, you don't have to worry if the message is coming from God or your ego, because God is also your ego. And whatever the message is, follow the message, follow the message, follow the message, follow your body, follow your body, follow your body, because it's all for the evolution of yourself, for the species, for the collective as a whole. So my client, I've gone down another tangent, haven't I? Because it's that time in the call where I'm just like, yay, I'm so excited, all the bodies in the room and everybody's energy and excitement is just flowing through me. So and amongst some of my favourite place in the world. And I'm going swimming tonight in Ramla Bay. Come back, Ali. She heard the commandment through her body in the middle of all the suffering that I was going through last year and all the challenges that I was going through last year. I heard the commandment in my body, which is this is the manifestation in progress. And I knew, not explicitly, I was a bit dumbfounded when I heard it, and I was a bit like, what do you mean this is manifestation in progress? It looks like the exact opposite, you could not get any more opposite of what I was desiring in that moment. It was the polar opposite of it. Everything, if I had a tick list of my desires, the opposite was right in front of me. And what I was being asked to do and called to do in that moment is to have faith that even although it doesn't look like anything like what I desire, it's still the desires, the manifestation of the desires in progress. That's what I was being asked to have faith in. And I did not understand that in the moment. I didn't, because I was in the middle of suffering. I was in the middle of grief. I was in the middle of fight or flight. I was literally on the floor with grief when I heard this is the manifestation in progress. And I knew it, it came through my body, it flooded through my system in a way that I've come to recognise as the higher intelligence within me talking to me. Very, very blessed in that we are right in the middle of a little town called Jagra, a village, and we're right on the square, and it's the church, which is absolutely beautiful. It's a Catholic church called Our Lady of Victories, and it is right outside the balcony door. We can look right onto it. It's absolutely beautiful. I'm so filled with gratitude to be here, so blessed to be here. And every time I hear those church bells, which I'm not sure if you just heard, but every time I hear them, my heart fills with so much joy, because I'm like, I can't believe I'm here with my daughter in Jagra, where I prayed for so long that I would be able to bring her to the beach at Ramla Bay. I prayed for it. I prayed for it out loud. I journaled on it. I meditated on it, and I received what I've been asking for. I was asking for probably about 7 months daily. I just want to bring her to Malta. I just want to bring her to Malta. And we're here together. Gozo is a sister island of Malta. And we're here together for the pretty much the full summer. And I received the manifestation of the desires that I wished for with a truthful heart. Which is the whole point of this session, right? And I first began wishing and praying for that when I first came to Jagra in January. And it was, deepest, darkest January. It was cold. There was a big storm in Malta and Gozo. And I came here by myself and I was staying in this big old farmhouse and it was absolutely wild. There was no electricity and it was flooded and so many things happened. And I was just being constantly tested with my faith of this is the manifestation in progress, this is the manifestation in progress. And I had hired this farmhouse through this company and everything went wrong on the day that I got here, wrong. And there was a power cut and there was flooding and loads of things that just were not what I desired. It was the total opposite of what I desired. And I ended up being rehoused in a wonderful apartment that just had a beautiful view and it was just so nice and bright and it was everything that I desired at that time. And came up to the square here and took a photo of the church, Our Lady of Victories, and went into the church and was just somewhat aware that I was being tested, but not as much of an awareness as what just the gestation period of the past 8 months has been. 7 or 8 months. I first came to Malta in December. As you're getting exactly what you've asked for. There's just some things have to be purified along the way, and during that purification process, and some of my friends have been witness to it, and they will definitely attest to this, that I've not always been fully aligned with my faith that this is the manifestation in progress. There's been times where I've been like, I can't believe these things are happening to me along the way, and I've forgotten who I am. I've forgotten that I carry the energy of God within me, that I am creating these things in my physical reality, that they are all for my benefit. They are all for the evolution of my soul. They are all for the evolution of everyone round about me. To then land in Malta and Gozo, and subsequently Gozo a few nights ago, and cried with joy and awe that I had received the things that I've been desiring for so long. And here it was happening. And I was here with my little girl and I was showing her the island that I love. And it's even better than I could possibly imagine. It's even better than I could have created, because I create it alongside the hand of God, the energy that is God that created this planet. So if I just step out the way of trying to put my hands on things and control it by myself and just let God take over, give it to God, then God provides more than we possibly ever could ask for. And that's what's happened to me. Like I had desired that my daughter would be with me for 4 weeks of the summer and we would come to Malta. And what ended up happening is that my daughter's with me for 7 weeks, and we've not just come to Malta, but we also travelled to Toronto and we've travelled to London to see her sister, and we've had a great few weeks so far. And just the understanding that this is the manifestation in progress, this is the things that I have, this is the desires that I've been desiring for not just the past year, but the past 5 years, that they are coming into fruition, they are coming in, they're progressing, they are manifesting in front of me. And there's been many things over the past 5 years that I've not enjoyed along the way, that I've raged against God, that I've raged against the process. And all I've done in that time is slow down the manifestation. And all that's been asked of us when we manifest anything, that if I take it back to the theme of the call, somehow get back there, is anything we wish for with a truthful heart will instantly be made manifest. It's not been instant, it's been a 5-year progression. That's still not every one of my desires on my desire tick list has been ticked off, but but a lot of them have. If I look back on the last 5 years and watch the path that I've walked, it's like, well, what can I take from it? If I look at it through unconditional love and curiosity, I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about the people around about me. I've learned a lot about God and the way of the world and the way of the universe, and the processes that we can go through for manifestation. I wouldn't change anything that's happened within the past 5 years or the past 44 years. Like, I wouldn't change any of it. I'm constantly learning. God's constantly teaching me new lessons. Last week, I created scenarios that, you know, I felt the contrast of, that I didn't love certain parts of the things that happened, not least coming from a week of doing in-person coaching to travelling to helping my older daughter move house to then travelling again. Probably could have been done in a more efficient way, but now I know better for next time. So it's constantly lessons being learned. Being here in Malta and Gozo and having the manifestation of my desires in the way, receiving them in the way that I've received them, when I look back and join the dots, then I can understand that any points in the process of me not enjoying the manifestation has been through my perception of it. That's always what it is. It's only my perception, and it's only me in a heightened state of fear reacting and forgetting that I am God and that I can choose my reaction, that I can choose my perception at all times. And the only lens that we need to perceive our lives through is the lens of unconditional love and curiosity and truthfulness, trust and faith, and knowing that we're on the right path. We're always on the right path. Whether that path feels glorious or not, it is the glorious path. It's the path that we're on. It's the path we're supposed to be on. The contrast is you don't like the things that are happening in the path at the moment, then the perception of it through unconditional love and curiosity is just to know, okay, I don't like these things that are happening, so great things must be coming afterwards. And I've learned lessons along the way of the things that I prefer and the things that I don't prefer, the things that I like and the things that I don't like, the things that are beneficial and the things that are not so beneficial. All of it's information. Information becomes knowledge. Knowledge becomes power. With that power, we realise we are God and we create our own reality in the same way that God created the reality that we live in. I feel like I've gone round the houses 10 million times with 10 million stories, or as Frances, my little girl, calls it, a billion trillion stories, a billion trillion theories. And I don't know if I've been able to tie them all in, but I do get to blame jet lag this week because I did travel all weekend on a flight on Friday night and then again on Monday morning, or Monday afternoon. And in between Friday and Monday, I helped my oldest daughter move house. So I do get to blame this week my meandering down the paths. I do get to say that it's on tiredness and jet lag and excitement of being here in Jagra. I hope it makes sense. If it did not, if anything that I said today did not make sense, then now's your chance to put it in the Q&A, or if there's anything that I've said that you think that someone is listening to it and catch up, it would be more beneficial for them if I was able to explain it in a more coherent way, then please put a question in the Q&A and I will answer it. Otherwise, we will wrap up for today. I'm going to take a drink of my quite cold tea. Because if you're here every week, guess what's happening? My throat's starting to hurt because I've been speaking for so long. The same thing happens every week. I'll wait for some questions, and if no questions come, then I will wrap up. So the theme of this week's call, let's try and tie it all together in a little bow. Because what we get every Wednesday is we get a little peek into the inside of my brain and my body that I meditate on all week, and then I sit down in front of everyone and let it all just come out my body. The theme this week was anything you wish for with a truthful heart will instantly be made manifest. What I want you to take away from this week's session is you have to constantly be faithful to the knowledge that you are always on that path to receiving the things that you wish for with a truthful heart. I can't begin to tell you that from personal experience, even when it looks like the total opposite of what your physical manifestation in the third dimensional world if it looks like the total opposite of the things that you desire, you are still on the path to your desires. You are still always getting what you want and what you need in order to get to your desires. I know that you might be listening to that, and that might be very, very difficult to hear if you're sitting in a situation or an accumulation of situations that do not feel good. Okay, I understand more than most people that that will be difficult to hear. But you have to have faith in something. You either have faith in the unconditional love and curiosity of God, or you have faith in fear, which is lack of God. One of those two things feel better. Okay, it feels better to have faith in the idea and the knowledge that there is something bigger than us guiding us along the path. And if you sit still enough and silent enough, you can feel it and you will start to acknowledge it and you will start to feel in alignment with it. That feels much safer. Now, much safer, much more enjoyable, much more fun. Or you can have a faith and lack of what I've just mentioned, which shows up as fear, which is just we're all in it for ourselves. There's no divine way, there's no divine guidance, it's just every man for themselves. The world's shit. You know, there's war, there's crime, there's hatred, there's all of these things. Your body is a very, very intelligent system, and it believes everything that you program it. It believes everything that you tell it. So if you tell it that there is no God, that you're coming from a place of a perception of the universe, that it's just shit and horrible and filled with crime and hate and desperation and war and all these things, and then your subconscious, your programming will just show you more of that, more of that. You're your own algorithm. You will just see more of the things that make you feel the way that you feel at the moment. Your internal navigation system is your emotional compass. And if you feel like shit and you therefore view the world through the eyes of feeling like shit, you'll get more of it, and it'll just be it's self-fulfilling. It'll just be further reiterated to you. If you can, even for a second, even for a moment, just have a glimmer of faith, of unconditional love, of curiosity, of connection with something, whether that's, you know, sitting here and listening to me and being like, right, well, what if she's 10% right? What if the things that she's saying is 10% right or 1% right? What if I could go and I could journal on my feelings, or I could journal on my desires, and start really, really small. Start by desiring something small and then just letting go of it and seeing what God provides for you. And by God, I mean yourself, your highest self, and be open to however that comes in, because that's another thing. It's like this quote has just like come into my system while I'm sitting here. It says, I I'm going to get it wrong again. I Something along the lines of, God spoke to me today, and I who was waiting on God spoke to me today in flowers, and I who was waiting on words almost missed it. So God provides always. It's up to our perception of it, which we have the power of. We have the power of our own perception to see that God is always providing for us. So we can look at the world through the eyes of being provided for, or we can look at the world through the eyes of fear and anger and hatred. We do have that power. If you're sitting in a situation where you feel powerless and you feel afraid, I understand why you would not believe that that's true. I understand it more than most people. I've many times in my life felt powerless and felt afraid. You can substitute the word God here, as that makes you feel a certain way, for love, or for the universe, or for the way, or for nature. You can take out the word God and put something in that makes you feel more comfortable. There is a way, there is a natural way throughout the world that, you know, enables rivers to flow into seas, and trees to grow from little seeds, and babies to be conceived and be brought into this world after 9 months gestation, or like France's 6 months gestation. But there is a natural flow of life, and sometimes things happen in that natural flow of life that we do not like, the perception of, and that therefore can take us away from our faith in the natural flow of life. And if you're sitting listening to this here live on the call, or you're listening on catch up, and you're feeling in any way, triggered by anything that I'm saying, angry or sad or afraid of anything that I'm saying, then all I would ask is that you sit with that as well, pen and bit of paper. So it's the first thing I would ask anyone to do is to just become aware of your thoughts, which is why we start every call in silence. Become aware of your thoughts, be the watcher of your thoughts, question them. Why am I thinking this way? Why am I feeling this way? Why is this woman's words making me feel this way? And then be in silence. It's something that we all have access to, right? No matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, you could literally go and lock yourself in the toilet for 5 minutes and just sit in silence. We all have access to the interior world, no matter what our current situation's like. You could have zero money in the bank and zero food in the fridge, and or zero roof over your head, but you have the ability to sit in silence. You have the ability to go into the interior world within you, and that's where God lives, and that's where God speaks to you. That God is that highest version of yourself, and he's constantly talking to you in commandments and in ways that we might not notice in the beginning. That's the thing. And it's come along, listen to these sessions, and hopefully what will permeate is that you will be able to hear the voice of God within yourself, the voice of your highest self. Even if you don't believe any of the stuff that I'm saying, just by sitting on this call with the energy of everybody else on the call, what you're doing is you're opening pathways within yourself that God will eventually be loud enough for you to hear. God's speaking to you whether you want that to happen or not, whether you believe it's happening or not. It's still happening. But you can tune into it, you can tune into the frequency of it, and you can hear it and you can follow that path. And your intuition is still your intuition, whether or not you can hear it. Your instincts is still your instincts, whether or not you can hear it. You're alive here because of your instincts and your intuition. You will continue to be alive because of your instincts and your intuition. These are an instruction manual that come from the highest energy that created not just you, but the planet that we live in. Going down a tangent, have now. We're at 33 minutes past the hour. So this week's theme, Ali with jet lag, Ali tired, Ali excited because she's in Jagra and next to the wonderful beach of Ramla Bay and Calypso's Cave, which I'm going to this week, and rambling on anything you wish for with a truthful heart will instantly be made manifest. All I'm asking for you is to have faith that that is always the case, that you are always on the path to the manifestation. And if you don't like what is happening on the path, then you have the power to perceive that through unconditional love and curiosity and ask yourself, why is this happening? What is required from me in this instance? The first thing that's required of you is to look at every situation through the eyes of unconditional love, because that's how God views everything on this planet. Every human on this planet, every animal, every situation, regardless of what it is, if it's war or crime or any of these things, God's looking at them through the lens of unconditional love. That's been the theme. I've gone down a billion trillion paths and a billion trillion stories, but we're going to just let Ali off this week with the jet lag, and I will see you next week, and we will be talking more about faith and God, manifestation, and all of these things. And I will not be jet lagged, and I will have had over a week on my favourite island, and I'll be feeling a lot more perky, and I'm looking forward to it. So I will see you all then.